That first bite is always the loudest. The chocolate cracks, the caramel stretches into a long golden thread, and then the roasted peanuts crunch between your teeth. You can smell it before you even finish opening the wrapper, that warm, toasted, slightly sweet smell that tells your brain something good is about to happen. Now here's the part that is hard to believe. Every single day, factories around the world turn out about 15 million Snickers bars. That is enough to hand one to every person in New York City, with millions left over. Today, you're going inside the factory where it all happens. You'll see a river of warm caramel flowing through steel pipes. You'll find out why every single bar gets flipped upside down before it's finished. And near the end of this video, you'll see exactly what happens to the bars that fail inspection. Trust me, you won't guess where they end up. But first, if you enjoy seeing how things are really made, grab that like button. Press it deep into the warm nougat slab and let the chocolate waterfall coat it on the way out. And if you love finding out how everyday things are really made, this is your home now, so make sure you're subscribed. Now back to the factory, because right now a truck full of peanuts is backing up to the loading dock. Everything starts with the peanut. Not a handful, not a bag, but truckloads. This factory takes in close to 100 tons of peanuts every single day, and almost every one of them was grown on a farm right here in America. The peanuts arrive raw, still wearing their thin red skins, and the first machines they meet are not gentle. Powerful fans blast away dust, stems, and tiny stones, while shaking screens sort the nuts by size. Only peanuts that fall within a perfect size range move forward, because in a candy bar, every bite has to feel the same. Next, the peanuts ride a conveyor into a blanching machine where soft rubber rollers rub the red skins right off. The skins are sucked away through pipes, leaving behind smooth, pale nuts that are almost ready for their big moment. Almost. Because a raw peanut tastes like nothing. The magic happens in the roaster, a steel tunnel longer than a school bus, where hot air around 320 degrees Fahrenheit washes over the nuts as they tumble through. This is where that famous nutty flavor is born. But the window is tiny, a couple of minutes too long, and the whole batch turns dark and bitter, and tons of peanuts go straight in the trash. So sensors watch the color of the nuts every second, and the moment they hit that perfect golden shade, cool air rushes in and stops the roast. After roasting, the peanuts pass under cameras that scan thousands of nuts per second. Any peanut that looks too dark, too light, broken, or strange gets shot off the line by a tiny puff of air faster than your eye can follow. The survivors are perfect. But perfect peanuts alone are not a Snickers. While they cool in giant bins, in another part of the factory, enormous mixers are whipping up something soft, white, and fluffy. And this is where the heart of the bar is made. This is the nougat room, and it smells like a bakery and a candy shop had a baby. Nougat starts with sugar and corn syrup, cooked together in steel kettles until the mixture turns thick and glossy. At the same time, machines whip egg whites into a light, airy foam called frap. Then, the hot syrup pours slowly into the frap while giant beaters fold everything together. Vanilla goes in, a touch of peanut flavor goes in, and slowly the mixture grows into a soft white cloud. Each mixer in this room can hold thousands of pounds of nougat at once, and the factory runs several of them around the clock. But nougat is fussy. If it's whipped too long, it turns stiff and chewy like rubber. If it's not whipped enough, it collapses into syrup. Workers and sensors check the texture constantly because once a batch goes wrong, there is no fixing it. When the nougat is just right, it pours out onto a wide, slow-moving steel belt and gets spread into a single, endless slab. This slab is wider than a car, and it will keep flowing like this for hours without a single break. Rollers press it down to an exact thickness, just a little thinner than your thumb, because every bar that leaves this building has to be identical. The nougat is moving. The peanuts are waiting. But 2 floors away, something far more dangerous is happening. In a row of huge steel kettles, plain sugar, milk, and butter are about to become caramel, and this is the one ingredient in the whole building that can ruin itself in seconds. Caramel is basically controlled burning. The kettles heat the mixture to around 240 degrees Fahrenheit, while heavy steel arms stir without ever stopping. If the stirring pauses for even a moment, the sugar on the bottom scorches, and the smell of one burned batch can drift through half the factory. The cooks watch temperature gauges like hawks because 2 or 3 degrees decides everything. Too cool, and the caramel stays runny and slides right off the bar. Too hot, and it sets like glass and cracks your teeth. When it's perfect, it pours like warm honey, golden brown and stretchy, and it flows out of the kettles into heated pipes that keep it soft and ready. And while that caramel flows, let me tell you how this bar was born in the first place, because the story is stranger than you'd think. The year was 1930, in the middle of the Great Depression, when most families counted every penny. A candy maker named Frank Mars had already found success with another bar, and now he wanted something heavier, something packed with peanuts that felt like a real snack, not just a sweet. He got it right, but just before the new bar hit the shelves, the Mars family suffered a loss. Their favorite horse, a beloved animal they kept on their farm, passed away. The horse's name was Snickers, so the family put that name on the wrapper, and a 5-cent candy bar became a moving tribute. Nobody could have guessed that the horse's name would one day sit on the best-selling candy bar on the planet. But back on the factory floor, the caramel is ready, the peanuts have cooled, and that endless slab of nougat is about to get loaded up. This is where the bar starts to become a bar. The nougat slab glides forward, and overhead, a hopper begins to rain roasted peanuts down across the entire surface. Press rollers push the nuts gently into the soft nougat so they can't escape. On average, 16 peanuts end up inside every single bar, and across one day of production, that adds up to hundreds of millions of peanuts. Then comes the moment I promised you at the start. From the heated pipes above, warm caramel pours out in a wide, flowing river, spreading across the peanuts and locking every single one in place like golden cement. It's one of the most satisfying sights in the entire building. A slow-moving river of caramel that never runs dry. But the timing here is brutal. If the caramel arrives too hot, it melts the nougat underneath, and the layers blur together. If it arrives too cool, it won't grip the peanuts, and whole sections of the slab peel apart later. Sensors check the temperature every few seconds, and the line adjusts itself automatically. The layered slab now rolls into a cooling tunnel to firm up, and yet, something is still missing. The most famous part of all, there is not a drop of chocolate on this bar yet. To find it, we have to walk to the far end of the building where the air smells completely different. Welcome to the chocolate plant. It starts with cocoa beans roasted and ground into a thick, dark paste. That paste gets blended with sugar and milk, and then it enters a machine called a conche, where heavy rollers grind and knead the chocolate for hours on end. The goal is to crush every particle so small that your tongue can't feel a single grain. That is why good chocolate feels like silk instead of sand. The tanks in this part of the factory hold tens of thousands of pounds of liquid chocolate at a time, kept warm and slowly stirred day and night, because chocolate that sits still starts to separate. Then comes tempering, and this is where chocolate gets dramatic. The liquid is cooled, warmed, and cooled again, following an exact curve of temperatures, all to force the cocoa butter inside to form one specific type of crystal. Get it right, and the chocolate dries shiny and snaps cleanly when you break it. Get it wrong by just a couple of degrees, and the bars come out dull, gray, and streaky, and customers think the candy has gone bad. So computers steer the temperature every second of the way. And while the chocolate finds its perfect temperature, here's a quick story most people have never heard. For decades, if you walked into a shop in the United Kingdom and asked for a Snickers, people would have stared at you. Over there, the exact same bar was sold under a totally different name. It was called Marathon. Then in 1990, the company decided the bar should have one name across the whole world, and Marathon became Snickers overnight. British fans were genuinely upset, and some never stopped missing the old name. People missed it so much that years later, the company brought back limited runs of Marathon wrappers just for nostalgia, and they sold out fast. But back inside the factory, the chocolate has hit its perfect temperature, and that giant layered slab from earlier is about to be cut down to size. The slab rolls out of the cooling tunnel firm and ready. First, a row of spinning blades slices it lengthwise into long, narrow ropes, each one exactly the width of a Snickers. Then a chopping blade drops in a fast, steady rhythm, cutting the ropes crosswise into individual bars. The blade strikes hundreds of times every minute, and the cuts have to be perfect because every bar is weighed later, and a bar that's even a fraction too short will get rejected. These naked bars are called centers, and right now they look pale and unfinished, like a Snickers that forgot to get dressed. That changes in the next room, and this is the moment the entire video has been building toward. The centers march single file toward the enrober, and ahead of them hangs a wide, falling curtain of liquid milk chocolate. One by one, the bars pass straight through the waterfall, and in a single second, the pale center disappears under a smooth brown coat. Underneath, a chocolate-covered roller paints the bottom at the same time, so no surface is left bare. And here is the secret I promised you. Before this moment, machines flip every single bar completely upside down. The side that was facing the ceiling while the bar was built is now facing the floor. That is why the bottom of your Snickers is so smooth and flat. It was shaped against polished steel, while the wavy ripples on top were drawn by the falling curtain of chocolate itself. Every Snickers you have ever eaten was built one way and served to you the other way, and you never knew. Freshly coated, the bars glide into a cooling tunnel that stretches longer than a football field. Cold air washes over them for several minutes, and the tempered chocolate sets with that glossy shine and clean snap. When the bars come out the far end, they finally look like the candy you know. The peanuts are sealed in, the caramel is locked down, the nougat is hidden inside, and every open pot, kettle, and river in this building has poured itself into this one finished bar. But not every bar earns the wrapper. First, every single Snickers passes through a metal detector and an X-ray machine, hunting for anything that shouldn't be there. Then each bar crosses a high-speed scale that weighs it in a fraction of a second. Too light means missing peanuts. Too heavy means too much caramel. Cameras check the shape and the shine of the coating at the same time. Any bar that fails even slightly gets knocked off the line by a blast of air. So what happens to all those failed bars, the ones I told you about at the very beginning? They can't go back into the line. Because once a bar is coated and layered, there is no way to take it apart. So the rejects are collected, ground up, and most of them are sold to farms where they're blended into animal feed. That's right. Somewhere out there, cows and pigs are snacking on failed Snickers bars, and honestly, they're probably thrilled about it. The winners move on to wrapping, where machines fold and seal that famous brown wrapper around hundreds of bars every minute, faster than your eye can track. The wrapped bars flow into boxes. The boxes stack onto pallets, and forklifts load them into trucks lined up at the dock. Within days, a bar that started as a truckload of raw peanuts is sitting on a shelf near you, waiting for that loud first bite. So here's a little souvenir to take with you. Next time you unwrap a Snickers, flip it over and run your thumb across that smooth, flat bottom. That side was actually facing up while the bar was being built, shaped against polished steel before the flip. Now you know exactly how it got there. And tell me in the comments, when was the last time you bought just one Snickers at the store and actually walked out? I have a feeling I know what some of you are gonna say. If you enjoyed this, there's another video on your screen right now showing how your other favorite treats are made, and I think it'll surprise you even more than this one did. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you inside the next factory.